One. Welcome back, everybody, to Hoops HD. It is Wednesday, October 25th, and more importantly, it is one of our favorite nights here in the preseason for Hoops HD. It is, as Slika may say over there, the quadcast night. We're simultaneously recording forward
Right.
podcasts tonight. Is that how it's working?
Well, we're not. You can watch them simultaneously. We've got three more. This is the American, right? So this is the
This is
top one.
American.
But there's three more right below us. Look, you can see them down there.
If
They're
you're looking
right
for
in
the
the post.
A10,
Yeah.
if you're looking for the Mountain West, the West Coast are down there. But let's introduce who's we got
Yeah.
on the podcast today. I'm your host, Chad Sherwood. Up here, David Griggs and John Stalika. In the center square right below me, David Dorman. To his sides, Matt Sikowski and John Teitel. And joining us again from Bracketeer.org, it is Rocco Miller, or Brackets Miller, or whatever his name is. So guys, we got a lot to get to tonight. These are not going to be quite as long as our podcast we did for the other conferences, but these are four leagues that generally, we'll get to the A10 in a little while, right down there below. But generally, tend to put multiple teams inside the NCAA tournament. And we are starting off with the American. And Rocco, I got to start with you because it's the team that is everyone's preseason pick, I think, to win the American. Number 10 in the nation heading to the season, Final Four last year, and you were the FAU guy, Florida Atlantic guy, all of last season.
Well, it's funny how big of a difference a year makes because I think at this time last year, I surprised a lot of you guys on the first Under the Radar show because they were part of Conference USA a year ago, and not picked much higher than fourth in that league. A lot of people had them even lower to start the year.
They were fifth in the preseason.
Fifth in the preseason, yeah. So that was kind of the range.
Give me some credit, Rocco. I said they should not be fifth, although I meant the other way.
That's right. Well, yeah, and this team is a really fantastic team to follow. I'm hopeful by now the majority of our audience knows who they are. They made an incredible run to the Final Four. But in my opinion, when games get tight, majority of college basketball games are decided. Like 80% of them, and this team has the perfect chemistry, makeup. Loads of weapons to close out games. This year, you'll see in the preseason prognostications that John L. Davis and Elijah Martin are getting all the love. They probably have the brightest future for the NBA. But make no mistake about it, Nick Boyd made the game-winning shot to beat Memphis. Brandon Weatherspoon comes up clutch late in games all the time. Giancarlo Rosado is an incredible backup or almost timeshare with Vlad Golden in the middle. They all make big plays. Brian Greenlee was tough as nails in the Elite Eight win, made a ton of key plays to help them beat Kansas State. So this team is a true team. And Dusty May, I've always appreciated what he's worked with. A lot of these guys were recruited at the same period of time as 3-star or below kids. And it's just a really interesting situation where they all stayed together. None of them left the portal, although especially after last year, a lot of them had opportunities to do so. And because of last year's run, a lot more money got poured into what they call the Winning in Paradise NIL fund, which has done just enough to keep everybody happy. And I think from Dusty's standpoint, they won so much, a lot of the jobs that he might have been lured away from were no longer available by the time we got to the Final Four. So it was a perfect storm for this FAU team to run it back. They have everybody back except for one player who was like their seventh guy overall. And so this is, with them joining the American Conference, they'll be a little bit more tested than a year ago. The non-conference schedule, they've loaded up with opportunities. They're going to be in the ESPN Events Invitational. They're in the Jimmy V against Illinois. They've got a really cool game against Dorman and Teitel's Arizona Wildcats in Las Vegas before Christmas, among some other fun events they're a part of. So this team will be even more tested going into next year's March Madness, and we'll see if they can sustain a top 10, top 20 ranking throughout the year. But that's where it all comes from. There's your story, Chad.
Yeah, and Teitel, I know you had a few thoughts of them also, and one of the stories here though is they are moving up in conference from CUSA to the American, although one of the major powers of the American, Houston, along with Cincinnati and UCF, are gone this year. And you're on mute.
Those are very good points.
That's a great start.
But it sounds good.
Yes.
Rocco, as Dusty May's best friend, covered most of it. So I think that all I want to add is that a little worried. I mean, Arizona's got a tough schedule, but FAU is like at the top or near the top of the list as far as our non-conference opponents. They do bring back most of the team, which is great. I don't know how the roles change. Like John L. Davis was the 6th man of the year in the conference. I assume now he's going to be one of the focal points, which I think he'll do fine, but I'm not sure. And Dusty is the conference coach of the year. I don't know if he can take it up a notch or that he needs to when you return most of your Final Four team. The non-conference schedule is what impresses me the most. Last year, terrible, like outside the top 250. This year, tons of top 100 teams. And to think like last year, I don't think I could identify like Dusty or any of his players. Now, like I'd be shocked if they don't make the NCAA tournament. Unbelievable.
Yeah, well, Stalika, how far is this team? Is this team have a shot to go back to the Final Four? Is that how good this team is?
I think this is a team that's probably going to end up making the second weekend if they're able to land on the 4 or 5 seed line. The thing is, with that seed, you're going to be running into a 1 seed around the Sweet 16 time. Of course, what we saw last year was they had a road that went up against an 8, and I think the best seed they actually faced in the NCAA tournament was a 3 when they knocked out Kansas State in the Elite 8. So it wasn't like they had a bracket completely fall apart in front of them. They still had to pass some tests along the way.
Yeah.
I think they can get back. They're really good. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget they beat Tennessee, who had just
A 4
had just punched Duke in the mouth the round before that, which was really impressive.
And their first win in the tournament was a game that would not be available this year because they played a team that's now at conference four. They got that 1-point win over Memphis, 66-65, and that
shouldn't have happened last year either. They were both way too good for that game.
Yeah, but Dorman, how about Penny's Memphis team this year? Is this team going to be back? Is he going to be able to rebuild it really quickly with the talent that he has?
Well, he does have some he has some transfers coming in. And the kid to me I really like Javon Quinterly. He's coming over from Alabama. I'm not sure what the problem was there. I don't think it was minutes because I feel like he played a lot of minutes at Alabama. I just love that kid's motor. I love he gets to the basket. He plays defense. He tries to disrupt the opponent from getting in their offensive sets. I think it's clearly them and Florida Atlantic are the top 2 teams. Penny's got more talent than anyone in this conference besides Florida Atlantic. And if they didn't come in second in this conference, I'd be very surprised.
Yeah, Titel also coming from St. John's, David Jones. There's definitely talent here. Is there not?
Yeah, Jordan Brown from the Arizona Wildcats back in the day via Louisiana. I'm more concerned about who they don't have. We got 2 of the Williams. Mikey Williams, who just got 3 additional felony charges from his shooting back in March. Hopefully he will not spend 28 years in prison, God help him. And then DeAndre Williams, I'll have to defer to Rocco as the king of is the transfer guy eligible or not thing, but I don't know if DeAndre is eligible. Rocco, what do you know?
That was denied, right?
No. Oh, I don't think it's been announced. I think we're still waiting.
I thought I heard just a week or so ago that the appeal was denied. I mean, he's like 37 years old also right now, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, you might be right. I talked to somebody a couple days ago that said they were still waiting, but we'll have to double check that. In fact, I had heard somebody told me last week that they were actually thinking he was going to get it, that he was going to get approved. So
wow.
It makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference, in my opinion, because that guy is a game changer.
All right. So, obviously, if they have him, it is a big difference there. Matt, beyond these top 2 teams of FAU, the 2 teams we've mentioned so far, at least FAU and Memphis, is there somebody else you're looking at in this conference?
I think the one wild card might be Andy Kennedy's UAB Blazers. They lose one of the great college players, Jelly Walker.
One of the great names of the game. Come on.
Yeah, great game. It's a shame they couldn't make the tournament last year with him. I think they could have been a real dangerous team in the 5-12 game. And that, unfortunately, they drew Houston the year before that 5-12. That did turn out so great for them. But yeah, and then, I think this year.
I got a team.
Go ahead, Griggs, or
Matt,
okay. One of you.
Well, was he done? I thought he was done. So I'm sorry, Matt. Please finish. You are finished.
You go ahead. That's why I think they're an intriguing team. Yeah, Eric Gaines is like the star player. And then I think watch out for Arkansas transfer Barry Dunning. I think a very good fit in that system.
Yeah, a lot of
Absolutely.
JUCO transfers and Power 5 transfers. I got a team here that we've sort of been keeping our eye on since Ron Hunter took it over. We like what he did at IUPUI. He's certainly won big at Georgia State. And Tulane has not been nationally relevant in 60, 70, 80 years, however long it's been. They won 20 games a year ago. They've got 3 starters back. Is this the year Tulane has a breakout year and makes a run at the bubble, or at least the NIT? You can't help but. I mean, it was hard for the program to get worse, but it has definitely gotten better. And I think I don't like them as much as FAU, of course, but this is a team that could really make a lot of noise in this conference this year.
Yeah, well, Rocco, they had some defensive problems last year. If they could solve that with guys like Forbes and Cross, I kind of agree with Griggs. What do you think?
Yeah, good call on the defense. They did struggle defensively. I think, Jalen Cook, big time scorer, goes to LSU in the offseason, but they've got pretty much everybody back. And Cook, I think, was kind of part of that defensive issue. I have high hopes, mainly because they went on a trip to China, and it's not like one of the foreign tours that most of the programs go on. They went and played 7 world teams and playing as, grown men, and they played very, very well. You saw what Ron Hunter said about that trip. He was most coaches are, especially this time of year, usually are, very kind of secretive about their team. Ron Hunter, of course, never wanted to be that secretive. He loves this team, and he's very happy about how they played in China. I think that type of experience, unlike some of the other foreign tours, actually will help them a lot this year. And so I think it's not only the team on paper looks good. I think they're definitely at least an NIT team with an outside shot to make a run at the bubble. And the other thing I'll add, and this kind of plays into my final thought later, but the unbalanced schedules of the new American Conference with 14 schools now. Tulane, if I looked at everybody's schedules pretty closely. I think Tulane got the toughest draw, but I think if you're trying to make a case for an at-large bid, that could actually be a benefit.
Yeah.
If they pick up, they're basically playing everybody in the top half of the league twice.
You want that.
Yeah, you want that. So I think that helps their chances.
Speaking about the NIT, Dorman, defending NIT champions in North Texas are in this conference, but any shot at all for this team this year?
I don't think.
Well, their uniforms are in this conference. The team is totally different.
True, and a new head coach to bug everything.
Yeah.
We'll go with everything else.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Dorman. I've been interrupting everyone tonight. I'm not really sorry. I just feel like
There we go.
Yes, they switched coaches. They're one of their longtime, I believe, assistants, Ross Hodge, will take over now. But they lost a lot of they lost 4 starters and most of the minutes and points from last year. I don't think North Texas can compete with the likes of Memphis and Florida Atlantic. Not this year for North Texas, but I'm with Griggs. I love the unis.
Stalika, I know you're high on East Carolina heading to this season. Am I correct?
you are.
High on East Carolina only because you've got like half of Conference USA migrating into the conference right here. Apparently, they were picked as high as 5th by the coaches and media right here. I mean, this is a team that should probably rack up some wins in their non-conference slate. Their only real notable games are against Florida down in Lakeland, Florida, road trip to the district to play George Mason, and a home game against South Carolina. They do have, I believe, 6 of their top 7 players returning, so there is definitely going to be some experience for the Pirates this year.
And they got a guy, Cam Haves, waiting for a waiver also, Rocco. I think that's what we're also waiting on. Although go back to DeAndre Williams real quickly. His initial waiver was denied, but they have resubmitted so that he could still get eligible for Memphis. But go ahead.
When you resubmit, to the same people that told you no the first time. It's very difficult.
Go ahead, Rocco.
Yeah, I haven't heard much on Hayes. I'll have to look into that. But I think the one I was actually worried about most was Bobby Pettiford, who could be their best player coming in from Kansas, which obviously is a big needle mover talent-wise if they get him on the court. So we'll see about him as well. Yeah. Obviously, those 2 decisions are pretty big. A guy coming from the SEC and a guy coming from one of the best teams in the country. So,
Matt, is there anything in SMU this year? Last year in the conference.
And they got a player on the all-conference team, so maybe that can Zurich Phelps if he can carry him. But there's that's what let's see. Like, are they get the investment in Rob Lanier? Is like, is he good enough, especially the ACC for the ACC level? So see, and then probably be mediocre in the American, and now you're headed to the ACC to probably be in the bottom of their 2024-2025 projections.
There's a bunch of teams with new coaches that we have not mentioned yet, including Paul Mills over at Wichita State, Aaron Fern at Charlotte, and Griggs. Amir Abdur-Rahim coming over to South Florida. Maybe not this year, but could he do something there after what he did at Kennesaw?
Yes, I think he can. I think he's a phenomenal coach. Like you, I just think it's going to take some time for the cupboard to get stacked and for the program to move forward. But I think it's a great hire. Yeah, I think over time he will do very well there.
Also, Dorman, new head coach at Temple, a team that I'm seeing picked in 12th, 13th, 14th type of place in this league, unfortunately, how the mighty have fallen.
They have fallen, but I think they're actually going in the right direction now. They have hired Adam Fisher to be the head coach. He's worked under some really, really smart guys, some good coaches, Jay Wright, Jim Larinaga, Micah Shrewsbury. Fisher is from Philly, and if Temple's going to be good again, they're going to need to recruit the top guys from the Philly area. So I do think they have the right guy in place now. I think the middle of the pack, 4th, 5th in the conference would be a wonderful season for Temple. He doesn't have a lot returning. He doesn't have any bigs. He's got a few guards. They'll probably play a slow pace. He's been at Penn State under Micah Shrewsbury the last few years. Micah Shrewsbury slows it down, very gets the ball, slow down. They get the ball in the right place. They take their time. They execute. But nothing's going to be quick here. They're not going to be in a hurry. They're not going to run up and down. They don't have that type of team. But I do think Temple's on the rise, and they have the right hire in place here.
We have not mentioned Tulsa Rice or Texas San Antonio, all teams that are also in this conference. I'm going to open the floor up completely here for 3 seconds. If anybody really has a hot take on one of these other teams, Titel, go ahead.
Max Fiedler of Rice is worth more than 3 seconds of our time. Last
Okay.
year, he averaged 11, 8, and 5 as a 6'10" big man, led the nation's 73.5 field goal percent. But it's not like he's playing 39 minutes a game and shooting like 20 shots a game. He made 5 of 7 field goals where his game averages. He only plays 30 minutes a game. Imagine if they let him shoot more and play more. He might be like All-American caliber stats.
All right. If you want to talk about two players to watch at these bottom conferences teams here, Jordan Ivy Curry from UTSA could be another fun kid to watch, although there's nothing else on that team to watch, I don't think. But
and he also needs to get a waiver approved still as well.
Oh, does he? Oh,
because he's a 2-time transfer. Yes.
Even though maybe not.
Even though he's a boomerang. Yeah.
You're not getting those anyway.
Man, I think if you go back to the video school, you should get it.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting caveat there.
Yeah. Anyhow, let's. What I want to do here is run through each of you real quickly here with a few questions. Number one, who's going to win this conference? Yeah. Number two, how many bids does the league get? Number three, any other final thoughts you have on the American? And Sleeka, let me start with you.
I think it's probably going to be an easy call to say that we're going to have 2 teams end up going to the NCAA tournament, and that's going to be Florida Atlantic and Memphis. I'll go with FAU just because of all the experience coming back. But as far as a final thought, we did touch on Florida Atlantic beefing up their conference schedule. Memphis is in the same boat. They're going to be part of the battle for Atlantis, where they'll be on the same side with Michigan, Arkansas, and Stanford. They're also going to have quite a few road games against SEC teams like Missouri, Ole Miss, Texas A&M. They also go to VCU, and they'll also be hosting Clemson, Virginia, and Vanderbilt. So about their only bye games you're going to see are going to be the bottom half of the conference this year.
Yeah, a little news coming out today that VCU game next year could possibly be a conference matchup. The American is in talks with VCU as a non-football member. Dorman.
I'm in step with Stalika. It's 2. And I think they're both going to go for exactly the reasons Stalika said, because Memphis has put together a real strong out-of-conference schedule. I think they'll win enough. I think they should do really well in the conference. I have two going. I'll take Florida Atlantic to win it. And my last final thought on this conference is it's just crazy how like razor thin college basketball is, because if Florida Atlantic doesn't hit that shot against Memphis in the first round last year, everyone just remembers the first round a great game. And like now everyone's looking at Florida Atlantic and everyone thinks they're great. And I'm with them. I have nothing bad to say. But it's crazy how little everyone else except Rocco would have known about this team had they not hit that shot. It's just so crazy, the margins and how slim it is.
Rocco, he called you out. Let me go to you next.
Who are you picking, Rocco? I can't figure out who.
Well, I think the world of both of the programs. I just think Memphis has some new pieces to figure out, and by the time we get to league play, who knows? Maybe they are on the same footing again. I thought last year they were incredibly evenly matched, and of course the game played out that way. To Dorman's point, but I do think that was the toughest team Florida Atlantic played in the entire region. No disrespect to Tennessee or Kansas State, I just thought Memphis was on a great level by the time they got to the tournament. So this could be a fun rivalry. It really sets the stage for possibly 3 games this year. And CBS, kudos to you guys because they basically kept the same format in place that Memphis had with Houston. So we will get Memphis at Florida Atlantic on the very last Sunday of the season. And then just a couple weeks before that is round 1. So we're going to get packed with Tigers versus Owls right at the end of the year, like we did with Memphis Houston. So that's cool. But I agree. Those 2 teams are definitely penciled in as tournament teams, FAU, the champion. And then I just think the league did everything they possibly could to create an avenue for a third bid. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but with this unbalanced schedule, you can see that the projected top half, they're all pretty much playing each other twice, give or take a regional rivalry. And I think that opens the door for a Tulane or a UAB for sure to be a third team. North Texas, I'm not counting out either. Everybody I've talked about Ross Hodge. He's a big time winner in JUCO. He's been one of the top assistants for years. He's earned this opportunity. And, I don't know if he's got enough players, but that defense, mark my words, that's going to be a top 20 defense still in the country. And that's going to win them a lot of games on the margins like Dorman talked about. So that's how I see the league playing out. The other side of that unbalanced coin is you're going to have some teams from the bottom surprise you because they're all going to play each other twice. Unlike it'll be the opposite of the top. So that's where a team like an East Carolina or a South Florida or even a Rice, in my opinion, those are probably my 3 favorites out of the bottom group to come up and maybe sneak into the top 5 or 6 by the end of the standings.
And I agree, Rocco. I like the shot at the 3 here. I really like Florida Atlantic to win this conference. Memphis, I think it's probably there. I would not be completely shocked me if Memphis actually slips up and does not make a bid. Also, we've seen Petty do it before with talented teams. In which case, a UAB or a Tulane is a team that I think sneaks in there and gets that second or the third bid, as the case may be. Titel, what about you?
I think we're working with a 2-bid league in Memphis and FAU. Whoever created the schedule is really going to give us a lot of suspense as they do not face each other for the first time until February 25th. And then again, a couple weeks later for the regular season finale on Saturday, March 9th. So if you hate suspense, this is not the conference for you. But if you're a fan of fantastic finishes, I think it's going to go down to the wire with these 2. As far as a final thought, another Memphis thing, I mentioned the legal problems earlier for Mikey Williams. And my guess is we're not going to see him in a Memphis uniform, but it's just a guess. To give you an idea of how much of a game changer he is and a program changer, he was offered a scholarship by Arizona before he started high school. Like as an 8th grader, he's that good, which is why if he's eligible by February 25th, I think he can make the difference in whether or not Memphis wins this conference. I don't think he's going to make the team, but if he does, I think he's that good.
Matt.
Yeah, I like to diverge, but I think it's in this case it's a pretty clear-cut top 2 for the tournament. Yep, Florida Atlantic and Memphis. I got Florida Atlantic just edging them up. I think it'll be like an 18-2, 17-3 type thing. And that I think actually we'll play to watch. I mentioned Memphis. I think this is a real good fit for Caleb Mills, to where he showed a lot of flashes early on at Houston. Didn't quite fit at Florida State, but I think assuming he's eligible, and that I think he has a big year for Memphis and might even be Player of the Year because I think FAU is so balanced. That I think UAB is close. Like I think they'll be like one like the last 4 or 8 out, but I don't think they quite make it. And I think what's going to hurt is even though they're trying to gimmick it with the schedule, and it's smart to do, and that the bottom of that league now is just so bad that I think it's going to hurt to where Memphis and FAU wisely schedule superstar out of conference to where they'll get themselves 2-3 good wins probably just based on the sheer number of opportunities. But for everyone else, it's you might need to have a 4 or 5 loss record, and that just because of the dregs at the bottom of the league.
Griggs.
I think Florida Atlantic wins the league, and I think that they're in position to get a protected seed. They're ranked 10th. I think that that's about where they belong, and that's where we're going to see them at the end of the year. I think Memphis is the other team that lands inside the bubble. I could see a third getting in. As far as the conference as a whole, it's obviously got a new lineup. A lot of the stronger programs left it, but I really think this league has the potential to become better over time. When you look at it, you're in Miami. If you look at what Florida did, Atlantic did last year, but these are all, with the exception of East Carolina, in metro urban areas that are rich with basketball talent at the high school level and have centrally located fan bases in towns that would get behind the teams if they started winning. And they don't have Power 5 sources necessarily, but they have way more than what a lot of good under the radar programs have, even the programs that aren't good. Charlotte, Temple, who's been really good in the past. I could never figure out why Rice isn't better. They're in Dallas. You'd think they'd be good by accident every now and then. Tulsa, while not good now, has been good. Wichita State has been good. SMU has been good. North Texas has been good. I mean, this could be, if it sticks together and everybody stops playing musical chairs, the makings of a really, really good Metro Conference Part 2, and I really hope it happens as a fan of the sport.
Well, I think you nailed the problem for Rice because they're actually located in Houston.
I said Houston. Go back and edit.
And also SMU is on their way out, obviously moving up to the ACC next year. But that's the only move other than potentially a new team coming in. But on that note, I do want to thank everybody joining us for the American preview. If you're looking for the A10, the Mountain West, the West Coast, they're down there somewhere. Look for any other conference, check out the season preview tab up top there. But on behalf of David Griggs, John Stalika, David Dorman, Matt Sikowski, John Teitel, and Rocco Miller from Bracketeer.org, I'm Chad Sherwood. Thanks for joining us. Talk to you again down there
Houston.
next with the A10 in just a few seconds.
I said Houston.